I'd like to continue right now with the featured modeler. And this is Mike Zucker, who owns Spring Creek Model Trains Hobby Shop.
What?
Mike, welcome tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Thanks for having us. I'm Mike. This is my brother, Jeff. So I guess we work at the store that our parents own. Dave and Deb Zucker own Spring Creek Model Trains. Both Jeff and I have come back here over the last, 6 years?
Yeah, 6 years.
And we now work here at Spring Creek Model Trains. So it's a family run affair here in Deshler, Nebraska. We both have come back from, back to our hometown from careers. Jeff was in IT, running about 4 different offices in a pediatrics firm. Myself, I was in civil engineering with the Union Pacific Railroad, so traveling across the country, building projects for the railroad. So I went from doing it 1-to-1 scale down here to either 87 or 160. So
yeah, yep.
But anyway, Jim, that's kind of a quick overview. I guess we maybe get a little more into store history. The store's been in operations for 22 years now.
Yep.
They basically started the store out of the house that Jeff and I grew up in, doing train shows throughout the country. They would average what were we averaging before
COVID?
Yeah,
About 42.
So we'd be at 42 train shows a year, sometimes on the same weekend. Right now, we're probably closer to 30 or 35 train shows right now, with them all still coming back. So we do that. We obviously got a storefront and then an online presence. So I can share here a couple of pictures of our store here. So let me get a couple pictures here going. This is the outside of our building. You can see that's our staff there. So there's 6 of us full-time. We got 2 part-time helpers. And as you go inside, that's kind of at the front door. This is kind of the overview of that area, primarily HO scale that you see here, and scales in the farther back underneath that Rock Island shield back there, or sign. Kind of another view of the front entrance. We have our detail parts kind of in electronics off to the left there. That's not really shown in the picture. Another shot down the side. This is one of our back walls that we have in the building, full of HO scale containers primarily. There's coal cars on the bottom shelf there that you can see. More of the details hung on the back walls of the aisles of the racks. Yeah. Yep. And then this is kind of a shot. It's hard to get a picture of the end scale, but all these bookshelves here back in this area with the lower ceiling are all end scale products. We got end caps there with containers and details and vehicles and whatnot. And then we have a whole separate room for track.
Scenery material.
Yeah, track and scenery materials and everything. So anyway, that's kind of the store piece of it. We do, like I said, travel the train shows. So we kind of have a standard setup. We were out at, I guess right now we're on the road to San Antonio.
Yep.
Mom and Dad just left today for San Antonio. Earlier this year, we are out at the Amherst train show in Massachusetts. I got a couple of pictures there that I'll show off of here from that setup. But this is kind of our basic setup that you would see. We had a little more space at Amherst than we do at a lot of train shows, but you look for our sign, we kind of get that up in the air for people to see us at train shows. But you can see there we carry all the HO, quite a bit of details. We're also a dealer for
Iowa Scaled Engineering's Proto Throttle.
Yep, and their grain bins lines. Here's just some of the interior shots. just kind of the setup there. We had a nice tangent set up with locomotives there in the background. Shot of our locomotive area with the sign. And then this is kind of the end scale detail parts, a couple of our merchandise that we sell there with our company or hobby store name on it. So that was kind of the, I guess, overview there of the store and the booth. I don't know if we got any questions right now, Jim, if you want to go through any.
Let me ask you this. The model railroad hobby seems to me at least to be changing considerably from what it used to be. One of the areas that I see a major change in is people are interested in other hobbies now. They're interested in the skills that other hobbies bring to the table, not just model railroading. It used to be when I was younger, if you were a model railroader, that's all that's really what you cared about was model railroading. You didn't worry about the other hobbies. But now with the military modelers and the different kind of modeling skills that are being demonstrated on YouTube and elsewhere, model railroads are branching out. Are you all seeing that in your store? Is that how your modelers are acting?
I think we see that a little bit. They're really getting more into detail, in particular in the structures. We partnered with a company out of Salina, Kansas, called JP 3D, and he's 3D printing plane style concrete elevators that are a scale 160 feet tall. So it gives you a better feel of what the planes are versus the Wathers model, which is a much shorter elevator. And the guys really like that because they go, well, that saves me a ton. Now I can focus my attention to weathering and detailing it to look what I want it to look like versus having to, okay, how am I going to build this structure?
Right.
We see a lot more of that. We saw a lot of detail parts. We've even seen a comeback in the undecorated products.
Yep.
Which really surprised us because we thought, well, pretty much everything's covered, but there's just lots of guys that have either started their own little fictitious railroad or want to do something for their railroad that there isn't made, and they just jump on that right now. And it's nice to see those things coming back. Kind of there for a while, the manufacturers just kind of did everything for you.
Yep. Yeah, almost every order sheet anymore, we're ordering undecorated models of whatever the manufacturer's putting out. So that's been a change here. Pretty recent change.
Yeah.
Probably for us anyway. So
and the electronics has brought others into the hobby. They weren't necessarily into trains, but they really were intrigued by the electronics factor that has come about and to see what they can do. We have one guy who's running all of his stuff via computer, even moving the trains is all run by computer, and he just gets a kick, just a thrill out of it. So that's what he likes to do. I mean, he goes, I got nothing but plywood, but he goes, my trains are moving. So
that's the best part about model trains. And I know probably everybody on this meeting tonight understands that is all the different aspects that you can get into with model trains, right? I mean, you can be into the artwork, you can be into the detail of the models, right? You can be in the electronics of doing it, just the operations of it. I mean, it's just endless of what you can get into on your creative side, right? Or the interest of a hobby. So that's what we always encourage when we get new folks that come into the store or, come into our booth or call us, right? That's what we kind of talk through them with. So
one of the things that I hear from modelers an awful lot is there just seems to be a disconnect between the hobby shop owner and the modeler. There used to be, when I was younger, I used to spend an awful lot of time at the local hobby shop. I learned an awful lot just being there and talking to the other customers and talking to the owners and so forth. It was really a learning experience for me. And with the decline in the local hobby shop, that just seems to be a thing of the past now in many cases. And therefore that capability, what I call mentoring, is just not available anymore.
Well, we actually see quite a bit of it here, right? We spend a lot of time with our customers when they come into the store. I know Jeff and I do a lot of the back office work. Yeah, but when we have a customer here, we spend a lot of time downstairs on the floor talking with them, seeing what their interests are, right? How we can help them.
Right.
Jeff and I and our dad, right, we're all model train enthusiasts, right? We all have our own collection. Jeff's getting ready. He's just finishing his area to start building his layout. So we've had experience building layouts, so we can pass on some of that. We've done a lot of the electronics.
Yeah.
Jeff's involved in Fremo. So we try to pass that on, right? Because we see that as a resource, as a hobby store that we can provide, right, and help with. And by no means we know everything. I mean, we understand that, and we tell most of the customers that, but we say, hey, this is what we've tried in the past and it's worked, or here's what we've tried in the past and it didn't work. So, learn from that mistake that we've done and try something else. So those are some of the things we like to focus on. So
yeah, there definitely has been that, but we try to be a store that has all that. We've had we do host a biennial train show here in our little community, and we get manufacturers to come, and we like, I guess it's a brag, we double the size of the town for that weekend.
Yeah.
And but along with that is we also bring clinics.
Yep.
So we have guys that are, for lack of a better term, an expert in their little bit of the niche of the field, sit and present information, and that's received very well. And we're hopeful to add on to our structure that we currently have to be able to include a meeting room to where we can do those a little more often. While we're out of the way, we know we couldn't do it like every week or something, but if we could do once a month, once every other month, it would get people down to be able to feel like they can ask a question, talk to people, just be around.
So we also host a Fremo event. We do that every
Right.
year. We host a Fremo event where we have an HO and N scale set up here in Deshler. And we do that too to get that community here, right, where people can share ideas and whatnot. And then we host that one as a free event. So we advertise it around the local area that wants to drive here and come check out trains, right, and talk to people that are willing to talk about it and try to get some interest level going, right? And
Yeah,
that's all part of the same thing with the train show. Part of the train show too that we do is we try to bring in different layouts from all over the country that we don't get to see in the central part of the country at train shows. So, we've had layouts travel from the Gulf Coast, right? We've had them from out east have come, right? And out west have come. So it's just a way to inspire, right, the next person, or inspire that person that might be stuck on something to, hey, I can do this. So
yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that I hear modelers want is are the clinics. They like the hobby shops to be able to offer a space, and maybe have the local NMRA involved, or the local clubs involved, or something, that the community could feel that, this is where you go. You're interested in model railroading, this is where you go.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's the approach that you all are taking.
No, that's
absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, let me ask you this: where do you see the hobby shop business going? What do you see as your major challenges? I guess is how I'd put it right now.
I think one of our things, I mean, I didn't know if I mentioned it before, but we're in a 3,500 square foot space right now. We're busting at the seams too. So one of our big things and where we see, our hobby store going is the expansion of it, making it more of a destination for folks to come out here to rural Nebraska, right, to check us out. I mean, we are a destination, but it's just continuing to build on that. I think one of the things we really want to have is some layouts
be more interactive than we are.
interactive layouts, right? You know, where you can put your hands on some throttles, right, and test some things
Right.
out, test out different turnout controls, different signals. You know, those kind of things is what one of the grand plans or grand ideas that we have. And that's something that all four of us that, you know, our parents and us too that have talked about, that's kind of what we have the vision here in the next 5-10 years, to be making happen here in Deschler and keep doing this kind of stuff. Obviously we're going to have a presence on the internet. That's going to be important, you know, just like your show here, how many people you reach. You know, it's invaluable to be able to reach out there as a hobby store and be able to meet customers all across the country.
Yeah.
Train shows will be a part of Spring Creek Model Trains, I think, for as long as we're involved with it, which we hope is quite a few years yet. So, but yeah, I mean, that's what we see. We see a ton of opportunity in it. There's all kinds of different ways you can take your hobby store just as you can with the hobby itself. So,
you know, one of the things I wonder about is the ability to work with the small manufacturers. There's so many of them out there. They're making so many different products, and they're coming up with some detailed parts with the 3D printing and all the other technology that's out there now. What role do they play? How are they getting involved with a hobby shop?
Well, most of our contact with them so far has been through at a train show. We'll run into them in their local area. And my dad, just being a huge railroad enthusiast and a hobby enthusiast, will go over and start talking to him and say, hey, have you ever thought about, you know, hooking up with a hobby store? And we'd love to carry your product. And sometimes they jump on that and they're like, yeah, this would be great. And sometimes I go, I have, but I'm so busy right now. And this is just a in the evening kind of job that I don't want to take that on. It's like, well, okay, we get that. But when you are, here's our card, give us a call. We're interested.
Yeah.
and
Our biggest success so far in the smaller manufacturer world has been Macrail.
Yep.
We've really jumped on board with him. We've sold a bunch of products and he is great to work with. So if you haven't, you know, check his stuff out. Really good. Most of it's modern detail parts, but it's good stuff. And he treats everybody really well.
He'd be great for your show sometime, really, to get into some of that aspect. But it's just building that partnership with them, right? I mean, we have several different ones. I mean, Macrail, JP3, there's a couple to mention.
What was that? CGN scale.
CNG, right? N scale, right? Does details. We got a couple other 3D printing guys that we're talking to and working with. So it's definitely something we want to support them, because them creating that stuff helps us all out, right, in the hobby. So that's one thing that we want them to be successful, right? And if we can help them be successful, we want to be there.
And even if they don't want to say work with a hobby store, true, we do still. It's like if it's a product we think is outstanding, we'll direct people. Say, hey, have you looked at this? Check this guy's stuff out.
Yep.
Because you're gonna really like what you're seeing.
Yeah. But one of the things that I hear from small manufacturers is some of them just don't know, their pricing doesn't allow them to become involved with a hobby shop, because they can't give enough discount from what their prices are for the hobby shop to make any money by carrying the product. And so they just, it's either their pricing structure isn't there, or some reason they just don't get involved with the hobby shop, and therefore some of them decide it's a part-time business. They just don't want to grow any more than they are. They're happy with what they're doing. They go to their occasional train show and that's it, which is fine.
Yeah, cool.
But the same as with any business, a lot of them are really not business people. They're hobbyists that went into manufacturing a product for the hobby. And therefore their business knowledge may not be as great as it needs to be. in order to come up with a pricing structure and work with hobby shops and so forth and increase their market.
Yep. Yeah, well, you hit it on the head on that. So I don't know much to add to it. But yeah, that's a challenge that we've run into on some of them, right? They just don't have the pricing structure, as you mentioned, right, for us to be able to work with them. So,
and the other thing that seems to me, at least what I hear from other modelers, they don't expect a hobby shop to have every single thing in the world available for them to walk in and buy. But they do expect the hobby shop to have the basics. They do expect the track. They do expect the controls. They do expect to be able to go in and get their basic needs met at a hobby shop. And then they need the hobby shop to be able to order for them or direct them where I can get this. Help me get what I really need for my modeling. That's what I hear the need from the modeler's standpoint is for a hobby shop.
yeah.
Yeah. We
hit
definitely
that.
see that.
We see that all the time. A lot of our customers ask that. They ask us over the phone, right, through emails, coming into the brick and mortar here. But it's also something that we look at, when we start seeing a demand like on a detail part, that's something we're going to start stocking, right, and have it on hand here at the store. A lot of times we are like any other hobby store where we're ordering it from authors, right? The guy comes in and says, hey, I need this air horn. Well, we don't have it right now and we got to get it ordered in. So we do that a lot. But then, we have drawers of detail parts
we try to have
Details West, Detail Associates, right?
A-line.
What's that? High tech
Tech.
details, the Sea Canyon Company. Sorry, I can't even remember them all. So
yeah,
we got drawers of them. We got so many of them. We're behind on keeping up with our inventory on them. But guys will come in. We got them organized and everything. At least somebody can go in and search through them if that's what they're looking for that day. We totally agree on track. We try to keep track and turnouts. We got a whole basement that we use as a warehouse, so we got track materials, turnouts down there. We struggled last year really on keeping up with turnouts.
Yeah. A lot of layout building happened during the pandemic.
That, and then just trying to get them from the manufacturers. We had troubles, like, Pico had trouble getting it overseas here to the States. So we had trouble keeping up with them. Micro Engineering's running through some challenges with their turnouts. But, we do what we can to keep them here in stock. So we order large quantities when we put that in. So
try to, yeah.
Yeah. And then scenery, we try to do the same there, but it's that that's a cycle through a lot faster and order through our distributors quite a bit. So
are you still having problem getting shipping, getting manufacturers to supply you, or is that getting straightened out now?
No, it's starting to smooth out. There's still some challenges out there, but it's smoother than it was last year, and it never got horrible for model trains besides just some delays. So compared to other industries that we all hear about. So
yeah, electronics is probably the slowest thing.
Yeah, but even that's really picked up.
It shows.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You still think a lot of the stuff is going to be made in China, or do you think that that's going to change?
It's hard to say there. That's really on what happens, I guess, with the details and that everybody's asking for on the models, right? That dries up that amount of labor that's needed to build them. So we'll have to see. I know it changes all the time. They're always looking, but we know that much. But there's a talent base there in China that's building the hobby that we all like, right? So
right.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, I do appreciate so much you being here tonight. I don't want to monopolize this. Does anybody else have any questions for Mike or Jeff?
Yeah, I apologize if I missed it earlier, but where did the name Spring Creek come from?
So our hometown here in Deschler, so we have Deschler was founded on the Rock Island It was on a branch line of the Rock Island, when the Rock Island built across the west. The branch line got pulled up in the early 70s.
It followed the Spring
Creek, yeah, through here to make the branch line. So we have a Spring Creek on the south side of town. So
And-
then the Spring Creek model trains came from that, and then the R is from the Rock Island, because our dad rail fanned that ever since he was old enough to walk. Or the story,
Yeah.
tell the story about
Well-
grandma
Well,
knowing
yeah,
where he was. Or,
Dad always says, he goes, there's only one time or one way I was allowed to be late for supper, and that's if the train was in town, because she knew where I was.
yeah. So
So,
and then our grandpa on our mom's side, he was a Rock Island Depot agent. So they lived all across northern Kansas, Colorado, up into Nebraska a little bit. So she had the connection to the Rock Island too. So that's kind of where the R in our name has come from. So, or the history of it.
and Dad really wanted to choose like he felt Spring Creek was generic enough it would transport anywhere. He didn't want it to be something that was locale specific, in case he goes, well, if I ever decide to move, which he never will, but that's another.
We're not. Spring Creek has made its home here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, our goal is to be that destination store. I mean, we have customers from all over the country. It amazes us every week
every day
on who shows up at our store. Just like at the end of this year, I think we had a guy from Florida, we had a guy from Washington, and I think a guy from California all show up in the same week, right? They fly out here or drive out here, or they're driving through, right? They take a couple hour detour to come to the store and hang out. I remember one couple from Pennsylvania who drove out here. They were rail fanning and whatnot, and they came to the store, and they showed up at like 4:00 in the afternoon, and they completely changed all their plans. And
so they could come back the next day.
So they could come back the next day. They found a local hotel and turned around, came back, and spent the entire next day walking around. And he was on the phone with his friends back in Pennsylvania and says, hey, they still got this or that, or you need this. So
yeah, it's amazing how small the world is.
Yeah,
really.
It's pretty fun. So
what about your mail order business? Is that going well for you? Is that increasing or?
So
it's very much increasing. We knock on wood, the pandemic was fortunate for us. We actually launched our interactive website at the right time and had the right amount of right products out there, that it just has been growing and growing and growing. And Mike's efforts to get us involved with shows like yours, and we've been on a couple others, has really helped pay off, just getting our name out there.
Yeah, letting people know who we are, right? And that we do have stuff. And so it's helped a lot. It's kind of side by side work there. And the work with the train shows too. People know us out there. So yeah, if you haven't checked out our website, I mean, I can show it if you don't mind, Jim, but
no, not at all.
A little screen share here of the website. But this is our homepage, so it's just www.springcreekmodeltrains.com. So this is our, like I said, our homepage. We do a lot of exclusive products. That's one thing that we really like to do. We've started with coal trains with LBF, and I think we're on number
22
exclusive run. We keep those right here in this section. You can see a coal car there, an Omax coal car that we're doing with Rapido, plus one of the plastic hoppers, a Procore. It was an experimental paint scheme that Procore did, that there's at least evidence of one car painted in that blue. And that's a Boeing car. Just some of the other featured products that we got. We did this, some custom numbers there with Bowser on their ballast car. But going back to the top, Jeff's made a really good, easy in shopping, by scale. So just going into HO scale, just see all the different brands. So whatever you're looking for. I think
and it's still very much a work in progress. We only have about a quarter of our inventory listed.
Yep. So we break it down by the product line, and then you can just get in there and start searching whatever locomotive or freight car that you might be looking for. So this is the way it is. Our shipping, we got 2 gals that kind of handle that every day for us, and we help out as needed with them. But we take care of that. Customers call, we do a pre-order. We got a manual pre-order system, so we're really learning more about the demand of the hobby through the internet. So our ordering has changed quite a bit to where we try to get, because we
Yeah,
always want to
that's
be
still learning.
we always want to be a store that has the product, that not has the product, but to where you can come in and put your hands on it. So
Yeah, we don't want to just order it, be sold out all
Yeah.
the time.
so that's something we're always shoot for.
Well, it sounds like exactly what modelers are looking for in a hobby shop. It sounds like that you all are doing exactly what I hear modelers say that they want from their hobby shop. So I wish you the best of luck.
Appreciate
Can't
it.
thank you enough for being here tonight. And if you'd like to come back in the future, please just let me know. Love to have you back.
Yeah,
All right, great.
We'd love to come back, Jim. We appreciate the time and what you do here for the hobby. So this is pretty awesome. It's been
Yeah.
fun listening in today. So
Yeah, I learned stuff. So
oh
that's
yeah,
great.
for sure.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much for coming again. And I really do appreciate it.